Okay, you guys, so let's look at some ionic bonding practice. So when we're given a situation like this where it asks us to bond calcium and chlorine, we're going to start by writing one of each. So calcium is Ca, and it has 2 valence electrons because it's in group 2. And chlorine has 7 valence electrons because it's in group 17. Okay. So then what we want to do is calcium wants to lose 2 and chlorine wants to gain 1. So right away I see a problem, like, okay, calcium has 2 to give away, but chlorine only needs 1. So I know that this one is going to take a few steps for me to do. Okay, so calcium is going to start by giving away 1 of its electrons, and we're going to draw it right into that empty spot on our chlorine. So at this point, this chlorine right here is happy. It got 1 more electron, and now it has a charge of 1 minus. But our calcium still has this electron here, and so it's not happy. So I need to add another element that will take away that other electron from calcium. So I can only add another calcium or another chlorine. And since I want to give away an electron, I'm going to add another chlorine. It's always going to start with 7 valence electrons. And then I'm going to give this electron here to this empty spot. So when that happens, now calcium has lost both of its electrons and it's happy. Lose electrons to become positive. And the second chlorine is happy as well. So you guys, in our last chapter, we learned law of conservation of mass says that the mass of the reactants and the products has to be the same. So that means that what we put in has to be the same as what we get out. So I'm going to check before the arrow, I've got 1 calcium and 2 chlorine. And after the arrow, I have 1 calcium and 2 chlorine. So make sure that you have the same things on both sides. The last step then is going to be to write a formula. So my formula is going to tell me the elements I used and how many. So first I used calcium, and I needed 2 electrons, but those 2 electrons came from just 1 calcium. So I'm just going to write Ca. And then I needed 2 chlorine, so it's going to be Cl2. Okay, let's try another one of these. So we are going to bond beryllium and phosphorus. So I'm going to start by drawing 1 of each. So beryllium has 2 valence electrons, and phosphorus has 5. So I can see right away that beryllium wants to lose 2. And phosphorus wants to gain 3. So I know since it's not the same, I'm going to have some back and forth. So I'm going to start by drawing my beryllium electrons moving over to the empty spots on my phosphorus. And at this point, this beryllium here is happy. It's lost both of its electrons. So it's now a 2+. But my phosphorus is not happy. It has 1 spot left. So I need to add either another beryllium or another phosphorus that can give it electrons. So since beryllium is the one giving away electrons, I'm going to add another beryllium and give that electron to this empty spot here. Now my phosphorus is happy, so I'm going to write my phosphorus over on the product side. So it got 3 electrons, 3 are coming in, so that's a 3-. So my phosphorus is happy, but now my beryllium has this electron here that it still wants to get rid of. So I can either add another beryllium or another phosphorus. So if I add a phosphorus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is going to be able to take that electron. So now my beryllium is happy. But now my phosphorus needs 2 more electrons. So last step here, I'm going to add 1 more beryllium. And it's going to go into those 2 empty spots. So now that beryllium lost its 2. The other phosphorus gained all 3, and we're happy. So the last step then is our formula. So I needed 1, to 3 beryllium and 1, 2 phosphorus in order to get this to balance.